From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, it's Nick Petro with the first Hurricane Isaias briefing here. This live webinar is brought to you here on 9:30 this morning, Saturday, August 1st. And if you've been following our PowerPoint briefings, the biggest change since what we've been sharing yesterday in our briefings is there's a slight delay in the arrival timing of the hazards. So let me go ahead and jump to the next slide. And bear with me here as I'm having some very minor technical difficulties on my end. But anyway, so right now there's these are our hazards we're expecting with the storm: wind, the risk for flooding rains, and some isolated tornadoes. And basically, the wind we're expecting mainly along and east of I-95 in terms of the strongest wind. Flooding rain we think is possible across all of central North Carolina, but the greatest threat should be mainly east of the US 1 corridor. And then as far as tornadoes, typically that those risks are mainly along and to the right of the track. So that would mainly mean that east of I-95 would have the greatest risk for tornadoes. And I have some graphics to convey all this here coming up soon. But in terms of when the wind and rain and tornadoes, that's all basically going to be Monday, perhaps as early as Monday afternoon, but more likely Monday night will be the main event. So in terms of tornadoes, that's mainly in the afternoon and evening hours on Monday. All right. In terms of the threat levels, we think wind and flash flooding is our greatest threat. We don't think this system is going to be much of a river flood maker, mainly because it's moving so fast, and I think that's going to sort of cap our potential rainfall amounts. So, you know, not to say that 2 to 4 inches of rain, and that's pretty much what we're expecting. Not to say that that's not a lot of rain. That is a lot of rain, but because it's going to come fast and not stick around very long, that would produce mainly flash flooding instead of river flooding. Now, if we started getting amounts over 4 inches, then obviously we would start to be more concerned about river flooding. But we're thinking that, you know, we should be able, our river systems should be able to handle 2 to 4 inches of rain. And then of course tornadoes is rounds out that list. In terms of the latest situation overview, this is as of 8 a.m. so fairly fresh. You can see the track really hasn't changed much from the National Hurricane Center. The main thing you want to do now is you know, make your hurricane preparedness plans, and not only just for this particular storm, but for the whole season, because obviously here we are in the 1st of August and we're already up to the I storm. So clearly this has been a very busy hurricane season, and we haven't even hit the peak of the season. We're not even close to it yet. So you know, even if it's not this storm, you know, you're going to need to exercise your hurricane preparedness plans at some point. Okay, it might be this storm, particularly, you know, for wind and flooding rains, but certainly if you're not in the affected area, impact area, you're going to need those hurricane plans at some point this season. All right. So anyway, in terms of wind risk, which areas have the greatest risk for wind? Tropical storm force winds, at least the chances for those winds are increasing across central and eastern North Carolina. Again, you could see right there that the probabilities for tropical storm force winds are, you know, the highest, obviously closer to the coast and across eastern North Carolina, basically from I-95 eastward. If you're wondering about when's it going to get going, the wind, the tropical storm force winds, it could be as early as Monday afternoon, but more likely Monday night into Tuesday morning. Okay. What about the high end tropical storm force winds? The high end, we're talking, you know, 60 mile per hour and higher tropical storm force winds. The probability for those winds of that strength, are confined mainly to the coastal counties. Okay, so we don't think we're going to have 50-knot wind gusts back across central North Carolina. Okay, even along the I-95 corridor, we don't think winds are going to get that strong. All right, in terms of time of arrival, okay? The earliest reasonable time of arrival of tropical storm force winds across the coastal plain of central North Carolina is Monday afternoon, okay? That's the earliest reasonable. However, the most likely time this area could see tropical storm force winds will be Monday night into Tuesday morning, okay? So Monday night into Tuesday morning, that's kind of showtime, if you will, for the highest winds, all right? But, you know, if it got here late Monday afternoon, I wouldn't be surprised. That's the takeaway from this slide. All right, shifting to rainfall, there's a general 2 to 4 inch swath painted across most of central and eastern North Carolina. Okay, so that's pretty, and again, you know, this is a fast moving storm, so we're thankful for that. And that's the reason why we're only keeping the highest rainfall amounts up to 4 inches, is because it's moving fast. All right, so regardless, though, heavy downpours, some of which may be repetitive, even if it is fast mover, if it comes down real heavy in a short period of time, that'll lead to localized flash flooding. Flooding of poor drainage areas, the low spots in urban areas where there's a lot of water runoff, and places that typically see quickly evolving flooding during heavy downpours. Those are the places that will see, or at least have a higher risk of seeing flash type flooding. All right. And this graphic here is our excessive rainfall outlook. And basically what that says is very localized, vulnerable areas or urban areas, low spots, poor drainage areas. That's where scattered flash floods are possible. Okay, and this again will be Monday, late Monday, Monday night. That's the timing for that. All right, now what about the rivers? So we're shifting gears here to rivers. What will our impacts on the rivers be? Well, thankfully, as I pointed out, the storm is moving, or will move, pretty fast. So that's why we're capping the rainfall right now at 4 inches, okay? Even with 4 inches of rain, there's still about a 1 in 3 chance, that minor flooding will occur on the Neuse and Cape Fear rivers, okay? That's basically what this graphic is showing. And this is our longer range river product from our MMEFS product, which is basically it's an ensemble of 42 models that look at, you know, a whole range of different possibilities for rainfall amounts and how that would affect the river basins. And given the results of those 42 different scenarios, that gives us about a 1 in 3 chance that minor flooding. Okay, so the risk isn't particularly high, and even if we did have flooding, right now we're only expecting minor flooding. So that's good news too. Let's keep that storm moving fast. All right. In terms of the tornado, now we're shifting gears to tornado potential. The highest risk for tornadoes associated with Isaias will be closer to the coast, but we can't completely rule it out across central North Carolina. And when is this going to happen? We're talking Monday. Monday evening is the most likely timing for us to see tornadoes if we see any. All right, so tropical cyclone outer rain band tornadoes typically occur most often during the daytime hours. All right, so that kind of wraps up the main points of our briefing. The key takeaways here are strong wind gusts expected. You know, what could that do? Maybe some down trees, power outages. That's the sort of impacts that I would expect from this hazard. Strong wind gust is the hazard. You know, maybe gusts up to 40 miles per hour, maybe 45. That's the hazard. And the impact will be down trees and some power outages. Where? Mainly east of I-95, along the I-95 corridor and eastward. All right. In terms of rainfall, again, 2 to 4 inches of rain, localized higher amounts, localized flash flooding, and then isolated weak tornadoes are possible, mainly east of I-95, but especially closer to the coast. All right, that's your key takeaways. Now, there's one other thing I want to throw in here, actually two things I want to throw in here, because we can't forget about hazardous weather that's expected today. So one of those hazards is dangerous heat, and we have a heat advisory in effect for the counties you see highlighted orange. Okay, so folks across all of North Carolina, it's going to be hot everywhere, but heat index values of 105 to 107 are expected basically along and east of the US 1 corridor. So drink plenty of fluids, stay inside and air condition as much as you can, limit outdoor exposure, check on your neighbors, relatives, pets, the usual calls to action during dangerous heat. Okay, that's today. It's going to be hot again. All right. And then the other hazard is that a risk for isolated severe storms. Okay, so we're talking about a marginal risk, which means isolated severe storms are possible. A few strong to severe storms, particularly along and east of the US 1 this afternoon and evening, with the main threat being damaging wind gusts over 60 miles per hour. All right, so I got something here I want to show you that hopefully will convey when that severe thunderstorm risk for today will be. Let me drag this over to my screen and hopefully this will work. All right, so this is one of many models that we use to simulate thunderstorm activity. Okay, so don't take this as, this is exactly what's going to happen. This is used for a rough idea of when and where. All right, so let me go ahead and advance it. And this is again a simulation. So 12 p.m. today, 1 p.m. today, 2 p.m. today. So what this is suggesting is that by 2 p.m. today, we're going to start to see some showers popping up. And then by 3 p.m., they'll be grown into full thunderstorms. And then by 4 o'clock, then we see the coverage increasing pretty quickly. Now, any of these storms, after they're fully developed, will have a capability of producing a damaging wind gust. So that's why we have the marginal risk for severe thunderstorms today. And you can see there's the 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. One thing you'll notice, and let me grab the pointer here, is that the risk for these storms are confined mainly east of the US 1 corridor. So if you're back in the triad, okay, you might see a shower or two. You can't completely rule it out, but the greatest coverage will be along and east of the US 1 corridor, east of this line right here that I just drew. All right, so that is our thunderstorm risk for today. There's one other thing I wanted to grab or point out and grab your attention, and this is actually going back to Isaias. This is going back to the hurricane. And in terms of timing, this is a tool that you can use if you are in the emergency management field and you have access to HurrEvac. This is what I'm demonstrating right here is HurrEvac. So if you're wondering about what time, let me just randomly pick a part of our coverage area. I'm going to go for Sampson County, Clinton area. If you right click and then go down the storm info box, not storm info box, my apologies, create wind timing report. There is let me close this. Let me return that box and let me go to the let's see here. Of course, I wanted to demo this, but now I am not. Bear with me here for just a second. Let me pick another spot. Create wind timing report. All right, where did it go here? Well, I was hoping that demo would work for you, but I wanted to show you that there's a tool here. With this tool, you can see when the beginning and end. Oh, there. No, that's not it. Wanted to demonstrate that you could see when the beginning and end times of arrival of wind may be. And why this is not popping up, I apologize again. But let me try another spot here. Quick, create wind timing. All right, so I'm not going to be able to demo that. Maybe we'll demo that at 5 o'clock with our next webinar. But to wrap up this webinar here, I will mention that we do have another webinar scheduled for 5 p.m. this afternoon, and our slides will be presented by email as well. All right. So that wraps up our 9:30